Hi and welcome to my review of The Goodies, the complete BBC collection. Today we're up to South Africa. The South African government hires the Goodies to make a promotional film to encourage people to visit South Africa, which inadvertently leads to all the people of colour leaving South Africa when they learn how much better things are in Britain. But when the white people of South Africa find they no longer have anyone to do all the work for them, they introduce a new form of discrimination and segregation, apartheid, and make jockeys and Bill the new underclass. Now, I will admit I was a little bit nervous about watching this episode as it's clearly about a sensitive subject, but I have to say I was pretty impressed with the boys' approach to this subject and their treatment of it. There are a lot of highlights and interesting moments in this episode. The first was that the South African government has to kidnap people to visit South Africa because their racist reputation is so bad. Now, I think one of the cleverest visual gags in this episode is the all-white decor of the South African police officer's office, including the plants painted white and the segregated piano keys on the keyboard. There are some really pointed gags about police brutality in this episode right from the start, and they just don't let up with this. I love the gag about the South African package tours where they send unwilling tourists in packing crates. I really loved the lion gag, which was just a dog in a wig. Another great highlight of this episode was Bill's luggage when they emigrate, which is never commented on. Tim's luggage is also quite interesting. He's got a sort of makeup case or a woman's vanity case. Another fantastic hidden detail in this episode, which you could so easily miss, were the posters on the wall when Bill is on the run from the police, showing tour posters for Ronnie Corbett, who is now banned because he's a little person. Another moment I thought was fantastic was Bill's disguise when he's trying to pass as a big person. And it's a real Doctor Who Terror of the Autons moment, which they've had a few of those in the Goodies. This is really another great vehicle for Bill, and I really appreciated his Buster Keaton references when he's doing that sort of running and stopping that Buster Keaton used to do. Another fantastic use of Bill's song Run in this episode, which is always a delight to hear. Now, Tim and Graham in their evening clothes in that porch scene, they look fantastic. The mosquito slapping scene is such a classic bit. It's a really fantastic scene and it's so beautifully performed. Very deadpan by Graham and Tim. I also really enjoyed seeing Bill playing the drums. And Bill as a Che-style revolutionary fighting the oppression of the South African government against small people. One thing that did annoy me a bit in this episode, it sounds like the exact same audience member with the really annoying laugh from Cunning Stunts is in the audience yet again, and he does not stop with that annoying laugh.
Anyway,
it is a bit distracting. Guest stars in this episode are the fantastic Philip Maddock, who you might remember from Doctor Who and UFO. He is brilliant in this episode and pretty scary at times. This episode also features Oscar James, who you might remember from EastEnders. I had a bit of nervousness about watching this episode again. I really wondered how it might stand up because obviously it's dealing with some sensitive subjects. But I have to say, on balance, I think their approach to this topic, this difficult topic, was really brave and really successful in what they were trying to do. It is one of their most controversial and interesting episodes, and from what I've read and heard in the Goodies commentary on this episode, they really had to fight the BBC to be allowed to do this episode at all. They had joined protests against apartheid before, and they had a serious point to make in making this story. It is an arresting and at times uneasy comedy, but I think it does achieve what it sets out to do. It uses the device of putting the shoe on the other foot to confront the viewer with the outrage of bigotry and racism and the injustice of it all. The Goodies are effectively getting the viewer to imagine themselves in this position of finding themselves the subject of discrimination. Now, they do use racist stereotypes in the episode, but they are not using them or presenting them uncritically. They are presenting them to show the outrageousness of them. They're showing how ridiculous these stereotypes are and how completely removed from reality they are. Interestingly, in the commentary, Tim makes this point about that was their intention. Something I thought was really interesting was at the beginning of the episode, the boys are in a position where they have the kind of white privilege to be able to perform these absurd stereotypes. Yet at the end, they find themselves in the position of being the minority group themselves, where the colour of their own skin is a liability. I think that's a fascinating way to make the viewer think about race and discrimination. The execution of this episode might not be perfect, but I think it remains a really powerful and thought-provoking example of how satire can be used to land some pretty weighty punches on some serious subjects. Ultimately, this is a story about racism and confronting your own attitudes about racism and discrimination. And I think really The Goodies should be applauded for trying to convey this message in a comedy show. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you'll join me next time when we move on to another of my favourites, Bun Fight at the OK Tea Rooms. I'll see you then. Bye.